Sarah, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for being on the show. Like we were talking about before recording, I find that this podcast is always an excuse to meet smart founders, pick their brain. Especially, I love projects that have make a dent in the world, right? Like this concept of tech for good, companies that are trying to really kind of move the needle, improve people's lives. And we'll talk about Ora Medical quite a bit. But before we do, I want to maybe talk about a little bit about the state of remote medicine, right? It feels like such a new field. We were talking about it a little bit before as well. Where are we today, right? You were talking about how we haven't seen many advances in the past decades. How would you quantify the state of remote medicine today?
Yeah, I think that one thing that really helped remote medicine is unfortunately the pandemic. Now patients were really needed a solution. So during the pandemic, most doctors and physical therapists needed to call their patients to see how they were actually going and how they were progressing in their rehabilitation and like in general. But this phone call are not really working for therapies or like medicine that like really needs this physical touch. So it is really difficult for those patients who really needed some kind of help and some physical therapy to mostly make them walk. So there's a lot of patients that were just in their wheelchair most of the day because they really didn't get enough oh, sorry for that. Can we begin? Because I just forgot to cancel my. Yeah. Can we do it again, please? I don't hear you now.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. I was gonna say, yeah, like it was Facebook Messenger. Yeah, just retake. You could retake the question, right? So, state of remote medicine.
Yeah, I will just close all my tabs to make sure that. Okay, okay, so it's good. Okay. So yes, remote medicine is definitely a problem right now, and what really helped increasing the use of the remote medicine is definitely the pandemic and the COVID-19. So just in US, there's new reimbursement code just to do remote patient monitoring and just to see progress, how how patients are going from a distance. So we are really helping, like pandemic helped this change, doing more remote medicine, because a big problem that had previously at the beginning of the pandemic was patients and healthcare providers needed to do phone calls to do therapies, but this isn't actually working for patients who need physical therapy. So we really need something right now in the market that help doing the physical touch from a distance also. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like, yeah, the pandemic woke up to a lot of people about, hey, like when we need to have the use of technology to help us, it's a little bit more difficult when you actually have to be in contact with the person, right? So you how did you discover this idea for wanting to help in the remote world? Is something that you always thought about in terms of like in particularly in terms of people's lives and health, or did you stumble upon it really? I want to say more ad hoc.
It's actually because I experienced it. Like I used to be into the world of physical therapy, so my patients came to me once every few weeks, and I had no idea of what was going on in between the sessions. So my goal was really to stay in touch with the patients, so this way I can really see how they are going and actually encourage them to do better at home. So this is how it started, and I really see that there was a huge need, mostly in walking aids, because we were just mostly with children. We were strapping their hands with the armrest, just because some of them have some restriction, and I see that walking aids have a problem, like they are not really useful for patients. And another thing was that we needed to stay in touch with patient and do more remote care. So this is really when, at this point where I saw this problem, I was like, oh, I want to change the statu quo. So I just switched in mechanical engineering in 2018. So now I'm actually still a student. I still have 6 classes to do, but I'm in mechanical engineer now.
Yeah, mechanical engineer and founder of a company that's so I love that story, Sarah, about how you ended up switching based on what you saw was like a real, human problem, and having done physical therapy. Did you always foresee maybe an entrepreneurial route? Because you obviously you're part of Centec, so you saw that, or was it when the light bulb went off? It's like, I need to help people this way. And the way to do it is with with a company. So curious, or did you always think that maybe one day you'll be an entrepreneur?
My grandparents were entrepreneur. My grandfather actually had this company in electricity. So a lot of my family, my Lambert family, is entrepreneur. So I was encouraged a bit to do it, but it was not really a goal. Uh, like when I was starting in mechanical engineering, I wasn't really expecting to do this. It's mostly my co-founder who really pushed me. But I mean, I wouldn't change at all. I really appreciate, and me and my co-founder, we are two really motivated persons. So yeah, so this is basically it.
Interesting. Yeah. So the entrepreneurial roots run deep, right? From what business did he have?
He was consultant in electricity, so he had this Lambert Inc. Family office where we were just he was doing the electricity of like big offices such as Desjardins in Lévis, because I'm from Quebec City. So he did like all the electricity into those big buildings.
It's amazing. That's a great story. That's a great story. And then maybe walk us through. So you had that initial idea. So like walk us through the inception of Aura Medical.
Yeah, so it's really about our goal and our big vision is to do digital clinics. So, and we begin with walk. Like we, there's different kind of disabilities that we could address, but we first started to begin with walking disabilities because right now in the world there's 1 billion people with walking disabilities. So this is a huge need, and most of them cannot do remote care because they are just in their wheelchair at home, and they would need the kind of support from their family members to go to the therapy. So this is a big need right now, that they are just at home and they would like to have some kind of support, but they cannot. So this is why our goal was to really help people by putting the therapy, but at home also. So it is really to do, yeah, to really build this digital clinic that we will be able to do everywhere at any time of the day.
It's a fascinating vision. So today, if I understand, you also have a physical product. I understand. So maybe to help, help me understand like the product, how it works, how you use software to empower the physical product as well.
Yeah, so I will go through the vision, and you will see how it goes with that product. So how we wanted to see is like we really want to be, as I said, this digital therapy clinic. So our goal is to have and to have to improve the access from the clinician to the patient. So we put sensors on walking devices. So it will eventually be on different kind of walking devices, so such as cans, walkers, and even wheelchairs. So this way we will collect all the data about how is the patient moving in their mobility. But in order to have all these sensors on and to really have this platform that will do the remote patient monitoring, we first decided to do our own walking aid at first that has those several sensors. So we are already able to have this strong proof of concept saying, oh, see, we can see we can have all the walking pattern analysis with our own gait trainer. But eventually we want to also connect all the different kind of walking aids into our app. So this way the clinicians can really see how is the patient moving from a distance, and they can really prevent the deconditioning.
And what kind of data are the sensors capturing that's, let's say, different from what a smartphone would capture?
Yeah, so even a smartphone or a watch that would just get basic steps and like the speed. We are really more into data that the clinicians and the therapists will like to have, because our goal is to improve the current therapy from a distance. So they would like to see, oh, is the patient more shifted to the left or to the right when they are walking, or are they actually working? Because most of them could just stay in their wheelchair all day. But we really see ourselves being more into the motion analysis. For example, if a patient, as I said, like is shifting left or right, or is and really see like really deep analysis, like for example, a joint, so we can see like oh, the movement is not good enough, like the flexion and extension. So we would need more flexion. So it's really like specific data about the motion analysis that the clinician could get and to improve by adjusting the current therapy, adjusting the current exercises, and yeah, so basically data that will really help improving the motion of the patient.
Yeah, and I guess they also track it over time, right? So almost like a Aura Medical score. You see, hey, you're scoring X percent, and then the physician can see improvement over time. And then you mentioned, so today you have, I understand, it's just a walker, right? Like a gait trainer, I believe it's called on your website, like for children. But the vision is to be able to expand this to walkers, let's say for the elderly or wheelchairs. Is that correct?
Exactly. So we first started with the Levity, that is a smart gait trainer that really can get the data about how is the patient moving, their trunk, the position of their trunk, and it's really fun because the small patients, because it's for young people at first, and they can really see their progress like from on our app, and it's really we really engage the patients in their rehabilitation by giving them some data about their own progression. So it stimulates them to go better, and like at the end they see like the position of their trunk, and they see that oh, I'm actually improving because I was 10 degrees off and now I'm like 1 degrees off. So like it's really fun to see them understanding their gait pattern. But yeah, so this is the first solution, the Levity, that is connected, that will eventually be connected with an app when we will be able to sell it as well. And the next solution will really be to have our sensor suite that we already have in our gate trainer. We will scale mostly with adapting our sensor suite to all other type of devices. And by that, I'm also talking to not only like basic walking aids, such as the cans and everything, but we are also talking with exoskeletons company that would like to really have some more data about like, oh, is their device useful? So for now, we will, yeah, we will be more like a software company in the next few years.
Yeah. So on that point, it's a fascinating vision. But I imagine right now you have individual level data. Do you expect to be able to create intelligence and learnings from collecting slash anonymizing the data? So once you have, let's say, 100,000 users or a million users, do you foresee any kind of like improvement based on patterns and data, pattern recognition? Is that part of the vision as well?
Exactly. So we already have some basic AI model, but we want to scale it as long as we have more data to really be able to predict the outcomes of the patients. So we will be able to predict when they will be able to walk by themselves. So we will really engage the patient by saying, oh, if you walk on a daily basis, you will be able to walk by yourself in 2 years. So it will really motivate the patient. So we will like do this kind of predictive outcomes, and also be able to predict if a surgery will be good or not for a patient. So we will save a lot of money for the government by saying, oh, this surgery wouldn't be helpful at all, so you should not do it. Um, so yeah, it's also always by being able to do more prediction of the outcomes, and the AI will really help that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love how you're, forward thinking the model is, and how it also just improves people's lives, right? Like you said, someone that needs to wait 2 years. I imagine depression, motivation, all the psychological impact. So you're being able to, let's say, gamify a little bit of experience. I don't know maybe if it's the right word, but being able to provide some kind of like, hey, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because if you keep doing this, you're going to improve, right? So I think, which is, I imagine one of the biggest things is like, again, the people part of like how to keep people engaged and happy. You mentioned saving money for the government. So imagine the business model today. Are you selling directly to hospitals? Are you selling through insurance companies? Like, what's the business model today?
Yeah, to have a great impact, we want our device to be refundable. So to do so, we need to sell to hospitals at first. So this way, hospitals can write a note saying that the patients would need the device, and for if they write the note, then they can have their we can go into their reimbursement process. So the big goal is to be refundable for families. So we are into the this process right now. But on the other side, there's families that really want the device as soon as possible. So they are waiting for us to finish to have all the certifications. But we already have some LOI from different families that want the device in their at their place because they see the our solution is really improving their children's lives. So we want to yeah. So if patients want to use it without being refundable, then we are working for that too.
So, in terms of business model, then, is it like a one time, or do you foresee also charging like a subscription? Just because you obviously you'll need to continue to work and developing the software at the same time, right? So, how do you see changes to the business model itself?
Yeah, we plan to do more leasing. So, like, we will have a SaaS model revenue, and yes, and the same thing for the hardware. So it will be more hardware as services. So we will have this monthly revenue that will give us some for the cash flow. People like it to have this monthly recurrent revenue. So we will do this with the hardware and the software. And for the next solution, that will be basically be more the sensors. It will also be only SaaS as well.
Not bad, not bad. Yeah, which makes sense, right? Because you're not just selling a one-time physical good. You need to continue developing your algorithms, your software as well. So people will benefit from it. And give us a sense of today where you're at in the state of the company, right? You mentioned clinical trials. So give us a sense of like the next big milestones you're looking to achieve.
Yeah, so we first published our first case study last month in a gait posture scientific journal. And our lead researcher also went to Dublin at the ESMAC conference to really showcase the solution and how like and the results saying that the arm free because the device itself has the arm free overground with a partial weight support, so patients don't need to put a lot of weight on their upper arms. They're just supported by the trunk, and we really mimics the manual therapy of a therapist by doing this. But it shows like really big progress. So we compared our gait trainer with the normal and basic walker in the market right now, and we see that patients are actually having a better posture during when they are walking, and we expect like if they are practicing with this on a daily basis, they would have better outcomes. So we will in January we will start another research project. It will be more like a training, so we will really see during the months how are the patterns improving into their gait patterns. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool. What do you? It seems like you've developed something that people want. What are right now your biggest concerns? Like the things that keep you up at night in terms of like growing the company, hitting a bigger scale.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people from France that want the device right now, or like we also have different different traction in different countries. So we have tractions here in Quebec, also in US and in France, and it begins in Europe. So what keeps me up at night is just that I want to make everyone happy and to have the device as soon as possible. And I want to be as quick as possible. So to do so, I need to fundraise to give the solution in the market as soon as possible, because that's what the fundraising helps, right? It helps going faster. So this is basically it. Like we plan to do our next seed round in the next months, and that will help delivering the Earth solution and improving remote rehabilitation around the world.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, best of luck with the seed round. Sounds like it hopefully should be easy. If you if you have people, like lining up at the door, that's a pretty good validation that hey, something's working well, right? So hopefully you'll be able to close it quickly and get on to the real work of building the company.
I hope so. We have a lot of inbound, also from hospitals and from CIUS from here. So it's actually people that are and chief innovation officer from here, from Quebec City CIUS, that are like, oh, I would like to have your device. We are such in lack of manpower that we are looking for more solutions. So and by having doing remote patient monitoring, we really help this this big lack of manpower right now, because one PT or one doctor can see multiple patients at the same time at the comfort of their home. So they can have more patients and do therapies and actually improving patients' life in a shorter time.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest skill you've had to learn, like since you started the company, right? So it sounds like the product side you've nailed and like understand the market very well, but like the stuff that you haven't been aware of that you've had to learn, I'm curious to pick your brain.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I my field of expertise are mostly in medical side because of the my physical therapy background, and more the technical side with my mechanical engineering background. Um, so I really needed to learn all the finances and how to like the accountability in a really short time. So I really needed to learn in really fast how to do finances in order to grow a company.
So yeah, it's a good that's a good promo for like a online Coursera like finance class 101, right? For founders. It's always like one of these like table stakes, kind of like language of business, right? Like code for software, but then for business kind of finance, you need to know it.
Yeah, it was funny because at the beginning I was hanging out with the other founders, and they were saying like buzzword that I didn't know. And like at the really beginning, they were talking about, oh, what's your burn? And I'm like, what is my burn? And I'm like, so really basic stuff that now I'm like, oh, like I don't know how I didn't know, but now it's so obvious. But at the beginning it was not.
It's not taught to you in school, right? So it's like you have to learn it. How did the name come about? Like I love the name. So curious how you created the name of the brand.
Ora. So in French, it's like for the acronym for French thing, but like it's called outil de réadaptation, ajustable, adapté. So it was really for like all the rehabilitation tools, and we wanted to be adjustable for, and really to have like all the yeah, to make a better access to rehabilitation. So it is basically what the name wants to say.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you knew this, but like in Greek, the word aura means time. So
Oh,
so I'm not sure if there's a play on words there of like, hey, like the company can help save your time in the sense of like, or bring you back time or quality time. I don't know. I'm not the brand guy, but just saying there's a direct translation.
I will keep it.
Bit back, yeah. It's like, what you have a marketing team, maybe give it to them, see what they come up with. But for now, I love the name, and it's just I think it's irrespective of the name, it's really the product, right? That's what works. I think you could have called it anything, and like you have people lining up at the door to buy your product. I think it's less about the brand, I think, at this stage than it is anything else. Um, Yeah, I think Sarah, like maybe one final question is like in terms of the size, the opportunity, because I guess you're starting the fundraising, so you're going to get this question, but how big do you want to take the company in the sense of like you see the opportunity, you spoke about the size. How do you foresee it? Is it something that like that motivates you at the same time? So yeah, I want to pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I can definitely show more numbers and give you some statistics. Just the global home rehabilitation market is expected to reach 250 billion by 2029. So this is a pretty good market. All the global home rehabilitation devices and services, and we are really addressing it with our solution. And so this is for the market itself, and for the patients who would benefit from it, it's 1 billion people. So it's one patient out of seven in US that has walking disabilities, and in Canada is one person out of 10. Yeah, so exactly. So it's an average of one person out of eight globally that needs this kind of solution at home. So it's pretty big. Also, it includes the elderly people. So it seems a lot, but like it includes all the people that we don't really see in the streets because they're just stuck at home, wanted their solution to make them walk and go in the street.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating too when you start to talk about like exoskeleton of like the science fiction stuff of like, hey, if people start having like partial robots helping them walk, then yeah, maybe we'll see more elderly people living and enjoying their golden years. And what's that expression, right? If you want to become a billionaire, help a billion people, right? So that's an easy way to build a everlasting company. Sarah, I think I could probably pick your brain for their hour. I definitely want to do a round two once you guys have IPO'd and like taking over the world. I guess a final question is just if people want to learn more about Aura Medical and be part of the journey, what's the best way?
Oh yeah, so our journey, like how did it all started?
No, I was asking about the best way to stay in touch and to connect.
Oh yeah, sorry. So we can reach out through our website oramedical.ca, or directly you can just send me a message, sarah.lambert at oramedical.ca.
Awesome. Awesome. Sarah, merci beaucoup. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you so much.